Happy Friday. Thanks, Nicole, and welcome to The Beat, everyone. We're about to be joined by a Trump White House veteran, lawyer Ty Cobb, who has spoken out against this Trump second term, and we're going to get into that ABC News bombshell about what some argue could be funding another insurrection. The report is that the Trump DOJ, under control of Donald Trump, may move to settle Trump's lawsuit basically against his own administration, the IRS, and that Trump would use, many critics say abuse, this process to try to take over $1 billion from taxpayers and use it to give to his MAGA allies, including people who faced conviction for crimes against the United States.
That corruption is not an occasional weekend excursion for them. Corruption is all they do.
First, it's probably illegal. Secondly, it's outrageous. And finally, it's corrupt.
It's like watching The Sopranos and waking up in what is the scam of the day.
Democrats wasting no time there, being very aggressive, you'll notice, different than what we see sometimes in the first term, where they say, well, this is a report, or it hasn't happened yet, or yada, yada. Here, they've seen the movie enough times, and while it might have seemed once unthinkable that a sitting president would want to hand out your taxpayer money, if you're watching this in the U.S., and give it to convicts convicted of crimes against the U.S., I mean, giving it to any convicts would seem odd by itself. But specifically those who attacked the United States Congress and attacked police and put January 6th forever in infamy in American history, that you would want to fund and pay them, which raises questions of why. I'll show you what Raskin says, because it is chilling. Another watchdog group says it's like walking into Fort Knox and stealing the gold, taking the gold. The potential beneficiaries here include the people charged and many convicted for the Jan 6 attack. That includes people like this.
Nothing but a traitor, and he deserves to burn with the rest of them.
If Pence came, we're going to drag through the streets. You politicians are going to get drugged through the streets. We lost the line. We lost the line.
Yes, the people convicted of violence against the United States, against police, targeting lawmakers, calls to assassinate officials. Those are the people that under this reported plan would get your taxpayer money. There are many different ways this could run afoul of the law. But the problem, of course, is that the DOJ is the first line of the law. This would have to then be challenged in court, potentially held back. And the deeper question is why Donald Trump, who has no more elections yet to run, is so interested, so fixated on using or abusing a legal process to fund these people. He already freed them from prison, which remains one of his greatest scandals of this term. Some of these people were convicted of sedition against the United States. They were supposed to serve for over a decade. Now they might, under this plan, profit. And at a time of economic hardship, the Trump plan is to take money from honest Americans, from people who aren't convicted of anything, take your taxpayer money and give it to these convicts. Trump's slush fund could go beyond those so-called foot soldiers or militia members. ABC says it could also be routed to anyone else who says the Biden administration weaponized the legal system against them. And that could just be other people, rich people, connected MAGA elites and insiders in Washington or elsewhere who are tied to Trump. Because remember, if he's in control of this slush fund and it takes your money and hands it out, he could give it to Bannon, could give it to others who were convicted of crimes back in that period of the law where the courts worked and there was accountability. If you ducked a subpoena or violated your obligations, you might end up in federal prison. So those people at the top could also try to get some of this money that Trump clearly wants to hand out. Giuliani, Eastman, Powell. We're talking about people who were supposed to learn their lesson and some of whom faced various types of accountability. There was a case in Georgia. There were disbarment proceedings. There were other types of accountability. Now he wants to take your money to pay them back. Lindsey Graham is another lawmaker among Republicans who's at time floated the idea that, again, by the way, this was knocked down under protest. So these things matter. Sunlight matters. But at one point, you had Republicans saying they should also get paid with, again, your taxpayer money because their phone records were caught up or reviewed in a prior DOJ probe. That fell apart, but this looks like another end run around that controversy to try to get some of that money. We're talking about a combination of alleged corruption and very likely greed. Now, Trump could also divert funds to other entities because while the ABC report says it wouldn't go directly to him, you have entities like Mar-a-Lago, which of course was subject to a lawful search. You have the Trump Organization that has faced legal review. And you have a wider question tonight, and I'm going to put it to you this way before I bring in Ty Cobb. Think about what we've lived through. This insurrection was the greatest violent crime against the United States in modern history. The DOJ investigated it, and it was the largest, most sprawling federal probe in our history. And there was at one point accountability. Then Donald Trump started this term freeing those people, including those who attacked police, which very literally put Donald Trump against police, against blue lives, and on the side of the people who do violence against police, as long as apparently he thinks it's in his or the MAGA interest. That was already beyond anything we've ever seen. An anti-police, anti-law and order presidency, putting partisanship and an attack on democracy above America itself. Sounds stark, but that's what he did. This push to go further raises the question of why he doesn't just want these people out free roaming the streets, many of them, of course, former convicts, but why he wants them incentivized on his team with his money to potentially do what they did last time or do it again with more success. I want to bring in Ty Cobb, who, as mentioned, was a White House attorney in the first Trump administration. And Ty, this is serious. Jamie Raskin says this. It's an effort to refund what he calls a January 6th militia, and he says presumably to get them ready for the next round of battle. That's a serious allegation or concern against a sitting president, but do you think it's a fair concern?
Oh, I think it's a very fair concern. I think Jamie Raskin is really a voice that, 10 years from now, 20 years from now, when people look back at this time in history, people will point to his courage and his and the accuracy of his observations. But yes, this is intended to basically give Trump, $1.7 billion on top of either the $9 billion that Ted Lieu has a chart that he uses in Congress frequently to demonstrate how much Trump has looted America over the last 18 months, or the $4 billion that the New York Times and the New Yorker use as a figure of Trump's looting, to basically facilitate the illegal aims and the rewards that he intends for his people. Seriously, the potential uses of this slush fund are intended to be, as currently fashioned, totally opaque, not reviewable, not something that the American people are going to see or understand. It's completely illegal and absurd. Keep in mind, this is the case against the IRS is a completely fabricated vehicle for Trump to try to loot the Treasury. It's barred by the 2-year statute of limitation. The statute involved only allows $1,000 per disclosure, per illegal disclosure. There's an argument that there may have been, somewhere between 1 and 10 disclosures. There's no argument that supports the 10,000 or more disclosures that would be necessary to get him to $10 billion, which is what he's demanded. So it's really absurd. You've got a judge who, when assessing the case, had very serious concerns about whether there's any adversity here. This is Trump negotiating with himself.
That they're not. That it's not a real case.
It's not a real case. I mean, he himself has admitted that he's negotiating with himself. That's true. That's not a case or controversy, and there's no basis for an award here. The Justice Department has vigorous defenses. Last night, the amici curiae, the lawyers that the court had reached out to for guidance on whether this was really a case in controversy, filed their brief making it plain that there was substantial reason to doubt that this case could be fairly adjudicated between the two parties, because there really is no case or controversy, and the court should ask some, piercing questions. Clearly, in the case, they point to the fact that Pam Bondi directed her Justice Department to be loyal to Trump, not to the Constitution. Trump issued an executive order directing all government lawyers, all government personnel, government-wide, preventing them from taking positions that were contrary to his opinion about the law. Now, his opinion about the law is he's entitled to anything he wants, and the Justice Department is falling into line. Todd Blanche, who was cautioned early on in the administration about the necessity of recusing himself from most things related to Trump because of his personal appearance on Trump's behalf, previously in many of the criminal cases that Trump had, including the 34 felonies that he was convicted of while Blanche was his lawyer, was urged to recuse himself in connection with those matters. But he's now the primary deal maker for the Justice Department, doing all things that Trump wants. So, with Blanche as a co-conspirator, it's pretty clear there is no case or controversy here, and that it really is Trump just looting the government.
Right, looting the government, self-dealing, taking money from the taxpayers, which is bad enough and could be investigated. Indeed, if it's attached to other allegations, it's the type of thing that a Congress could impeach and hold a trial on and review the evidence. And if they refuse to participate, well, you can hold that against them, because a Senate trial, which would be an option if the Democrats went back to midterms, that trial then deals with the government you have. And if you have a government that is basically unlawful and resisting, then you take the evidence as it is and you make that choice. And then you add to that this looming threat of them trying to fund and incentivize future potential violence to overthrow the elections. I mean, a lot of this is out in the open. Ty, I want to turn to another piece. So Ty stays with us. I'm going to give folks the facts. There's new ethics filings that show, because some of the system does still work, they are required to release this, and they did, that Trump has been trading heavily in the stock market, disclosing hundreds of millions of dollars in transactions, including in major companies. That includes securities and stocks in a tech space that obviously are involved with AI and other big ticket items that Trump oversees. Microsoft, which has a big stake in ChatGPT and OpenAI, they're in court this week as well on another issue. Facebook, Meta, Oracle, big purchases of Apple and NVIDIA. These companies have CEOs who also are very close with Trump. They've accompanied him to China, and you can see others there. And to be fair, there are other administrations that have tried to build business alliances, advocate for U.S. commerce abroad. The financial forms, though, show the timing of what Trump is doing, that he or his people on his behalf, but under his name and money, seem to be pretty actively trading. You can see here, NVIDIA, that's the big chip that's powering all this AI. You can see that purchase. You can see, of course, Tim Cook and others are very much involved with Trump this year. The financial forms show that he purchased that on February 10th. That was actually 8 days before the company announced a big deal with Meta. Now, we don't know from the documents whether that's one of those many coincidences or whether all of these meetings and discussions give a clue. No one's alleging insider trading here, but a clue in terms of access, of mood, of information that, hey, this is a good time to buy or not. Trump also touted AI software maker Palantir on Truth Social, meaning he's using his public platform, which is mixed with the fact that he's the president, to promote a stock that he purchased. On top of all that, Trump continues to operate through himself and his family, crypto and other business ventures to a degree we have never seen from a modern president. Ty Cobb, do you view this as aggressive, poor judgment, but ultimately legal, so it's okay? Or do you view what we know, combined with the other corruption allegations against the administration, as something that should concern Americans about whether this actually goes farther and undermines our administration, our trust in it?
Well, I think it does go farther, and I do view it as, intensely criminal. It's not legal at all. It's never been done by another president. There's never been a president who has had the wholesale absence of frontal lobe control and impulse control to avoid the kind of corruption that Trump does on a daily basis, highlighted most recently by the $1.7 billion effort. But yeah, and these stock purchases are highly irregular. Rarely in history has a president, done anything remotely similar.
Can I slow you down on that point, Todd?
Sure.
Because you're an expert. You've been a White House lawyer. Most people haven't done that. You're reminding everyone that we don't usually have presidents actively trading in individual stocks just because they wouldn't even want to go near the conflict that when they're meeting with CEOs, which of course they may do, that there could be a conflict where their personal interest is against the public interest.
No, that's exactly right. And let's go back to the $1.7 trillion case or $1 billion case that we were talking about, the tax thing, which we don't have cases like that either, because historically every president has disclosed their tax returns voluntarily. Trump is upset because he tried to hide everything, largely because it's full of the false valuations, the fabricated losses that got him convicted of 34 felonies in New York. So he tried to hide all that. It came out in portions, and from a subcontractor to the IRS, not from the IRS directly, but from a subcontractor to the IRS, which is a defense that is available in that case. And the same thing is true in the stock things. Usually you have blind trust. Usually you have total distance between a president's purchase and sale decisions. That he typically does not make it. It's handled by either a trustee or family members or people that are not directed by him to make purchases. And the timing of these things, as you point out, there are no coincidences when it comes to Trump, Ari. There are no coincidences. So when Trump buys a stock and then promotes it. Yeah, when Trump buys a stock and then promotes it, that's design.
I'm only jumping in to say, and I'm only jumping in to say we value you for your expertise. So you're free to say that. That's your view. The government can respond. In the news, we do more than coincidence, right? So I'm careful to say that. Go ahead.
Yes, no, you're absolutely right. I mean, I'm not putting words in your mouth, but I'm just saying there really are no coincidences. When Trump says I'm negotiating with myself, what he means is I'm going to take what I want. When Trump goes to China to get a deal for Boeing to purchase 800 to 1,000 planes, leaves without a commitment and says it was a great deal, and they're going to have a bunch of disclosures about wonderful trade deals, and the farmers are going to be happy, notwithstanding the fact that under the last year in the Biden administration, they sold $27 billion worth of soybeans to China. Last year, they sold 14. This year, they're going to be lucky to sell 7. He's ruined the markets because of his crazy tariff stuff, and the fact that we're shedding allies at a rate never before seen in American history. But he will continue to fabricate the status of those things.
I'm gonna keep you. You mentioned fitness. I want to ask you about his mental fitness when we're back with Ty in just 90 seconds. Donald Trump's conduct has renewed scrutiny on his fitness, on how awake he is, and on what many see as late-night erratic behavior. He dozed off, apparently, during this meeting. You can judge for yourself since you see what's there, but that's gotten a lot of response. His late-night rants are drawing scrutiny, and the gaffes where he does seem to be rambling.
Are you concerned about the president's mental well-being?
Oh, 100%. I don't know how anyone can see what he posts or watch him in any meeting and think that he's fit for office.
We have strategic ambiguity. His is just all over the place. It's confrontational, it's inconsistent, it's erratic.
I don't trust that man to be able to cognitively make a complete sentence, let alone negotiate with China.
I think he's seriously ill. I think Trump needs medical attention, and there needs to be an intervention.
That's some of the response in Congress, where we see this is a mainstream issue, as it was raised at times for the last president. Ty, your view?
So it's not just my view. In 2017, Bandy Lee, a well-respected psychological professional trained at Harvard and Yale and highly regarded at the National Institute of Mental Health, and 26 of her colleagues and other respected psychiatrists around the world posted a lengthy journal article commenting on Trump's malignant narcissism and, the appearance of frontal lobe, early frontal lobe dementia. The symptoms have only gotten worse. They are remarkable at this stage of the game. And the wake-sleep reversal is a very common symptom highlighted by mental health professionals when discussing Trump's cognitive decline. The fact that he is up late texting about excrement, putting memes out of Democrats in the reflecting pool, which I see behind you when it was still a reflecting pool in your graphic there, before he has changed it. The reality is what he does late at night causes him to sleep during the day. And that is a very well-known symptom of cognitive decline, frontal lobe dementia, Alzheimer's, and because he has no impulse control left, he is guided solely by his malignant narcissism, which everybody has recognized for years, and he practices only vengeance and greed now. Everything he does is about revenge and looting the government for his benefit.
Yeah, it's striking. And you mentioned the late night posts. Any public official, you could be a CEO of a company. If you posted 30 times at night, people would say, what's going on? And if you posted the hate and the bile and the misinformation that you mentioned, you might be on review or removed by your board the next day. And we're
Robert, Cleveland, Ohio, Republican. You're on Open Forum.
Well, I'd like to first say I apologize to all of America and all of Americans. I was a diehard Republican. I cannot believe I drank the Kool-Aid, okay? I am guilty. I drank the Kool-Aid of Donald J. Trump. This man is ruining the Constitution of the United States. If you see all the corruption, the billions of dollars that the Trump family is grabbing, and he says it's never about the money. It's all about the money, the lies, the lies, the lies.
Lies, money, and the corruption reports, all of this may be accruing. The caller's not alone. 55% of Republicans blame Trump for these high prices. The war has really crystallized the issue. Oil is up. Fox News says Trump has now given this political gift to Democrats in a gaffe that has not gone away. This is a president who claims he can say and do almost anything, but admitting on camera he doesn't think about America's finances right now has not aged well at all.
Mr. President, to what extent are Americans' financial situations motivating you to make a deal?
Not even a little bit. The only thing that matters when I'm talking about Iran, they can't have a nuclear weapon. I don't think about Americans' financial situation. I don't think about anybody.
Yeah, that's the problem. Indeed, that is exactly what Democrats want to prove and show going into the midterm, so having Trump admitting it in real time may help them. This kind of moment that crystallizes something tends to pop. It's the kind of out-of-touch moment that nowadays we say it might go viral online. In the old days, we would just say it became something larger than a story or a moment in the news cycle. It can haunt a politician to their political core.
He was skewered for seeming out of touch at a grocer's convention. He marveled at new technology that could read a shredded barcode.
Just like that.
The New York Times said he didn't know how an ordinary checkout counter worked.
I think still the fundamentals of our economy are strong.
Well, you've been attacked, obviously, for saying the fundamentals of this economy are the fundamentals are strong. There's an ad out this morning.
There are 47% of the people who will vote for the president no matter what. All right, there are 47% who are with him, who are dependent upon government, who believe that they are victims.
It's a political earthquake in the presidential race, and the Romney campaign is in full-on damage control.
Admitting that you don't understand what people are going through in the economy, or that you think 47%, over 100 million Americans, are just victims on the dole, or when people were suffering in a crash and McCain said everything's basically fine and strong, these things define them, Republican strategist Karl Rove warns that Republicans will lose seats in the midterms because of that dreaded word in American politics, malaise. It's a reference to Jimmy Carter, who also, like Trump, was very unpopular once people got a load of what his governing looked like against economic problems. That notorious malaise speech is taught in campaigns and political science classes as what not to do. Carter didn't even actually use that word.
The symptoms of this crisis of the American spirit are all around us. For the first time in the history of our country, a majority of our people believe that the next 5 years will be worse than the past 5 years.
Trying to push or lie people into thinking that the economy that you oversee is better than it actually is has often failed. Telling people you don't even care and aren't thinking about it is probably worse. Our friend Cheiko Manduri, Obama veteran, says that Trump has a Carter problem. We'll be right back together.